Yeah, Coney, let's stay out there on the West Coast, man. The weather's beautiful out there this time of the year for sure. Let's go to the Coliseum and talk about that bunch you were alluding to in USC. I'm a little bullish on the Trojans this year, man. The win total 7.5. It's also juice minus 135, so it kind of tells you that's kind of where Vegas is leaning a little bit too with that 7.5 number. Last year they had 5 losses by an average margin of 3.8 points per game. Pick six previews, they're awesome game grader metric that they use. They had them ranked, Brett Ciance had them ranked fifth in the game grader metric last year in the Big Ten. Obviously, a lot of that's got to do with they had leads in the fourth quarter, they were playing well, and then they found ways to lose games there at the end. Something that interests me with this bunch is the fact that Lincoln Riley, quarterback whisperer, he did not go into the transfer portal and try to go find a quarterback. That tells me he likes what he's got in Jade Mayava. Mayava went 3-1 in his last four, when he had his 4 starts there down the stretch. Had 14 total touchdowns in those 4 starts. Got to cut down on the interceptions a little bit, but you kind of expect that from a first-year guy in the Big Ten playing the competition they're playing against, like Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane are 2 of your better 1-2 punches at the wide receiver position in college football. They're bringing in the top JUCO player, period, in the country, and running back Waylon Jordan. He was on the national championship Hutchinson team with Kansas last year. Also bringing in Eli Sanders, who was a 1,000-yard back at New Mex last year. And D'Anton Lynn is one of my favorite defensive coordinators in college football and is a star in the making. The dude turned UCLA around immediately. Riley poaches him to USC when he was, like you were alluding to, they got to change that defensive side of the ball. In 1 year, USC in 2023 was ranked 114th in total defense. Last year, in the first year under D'Anton Lynn, he had them ranked 65th. And they were 117th in scoring defense, and he had them ranked 46th. That is a dramatic jump year over year. So in year 2 with D'Anton Lynn at DC, with what they're bringing back on offense, I don't think that Lincoln Riley has just completely forgotten how to coach. I look at USC's schedule too. Looking at it now, they've got at Illinois early in the year on September the 27th. That game for Illinois and the Indiana game for Illinois is huge for Illinois as far as their win total is concerned when you were talking about them a minute ago, but obviously for USC as well. They get Big Blue Michigan in the Coliseum. That's going to be a fantastic game. And obviously they've got brutal road games at Notre Dame and at Oregon. There's 5 games on this schedule that I look at that you got to look at it's a 5-game season, in my opinion, for USC as far as looking at this win total. If they go 2-3 in that stretch, then that's still, I'm looking at 9-3. Again, I've got USC going 9-3, but let's just say they go 8-4 and they drop one of these other games. That's still over, get you to the window, again, get you over that 7.5.
Not so fast, my friend. Do not forget about the Georgia Southern Football Eagles week 2, my hometown, Statesboro, Georgia. And they're going to be led by who? Former USC coach Clay Helton, which is probably how this matchup got scheduled. I'll tell you what, I saw the Georgia Southern Football Eagles go out to Lincoln, Nebraska a couple years ago. I said they would beat Nebraska. Everyone thought I was crazy, and that's exactly what happened. So don't forget about them in the loss column, Lance. But
I love it,
seriously,
man.
though, that 4-game stretch that we were talking about with at Illinois, Michigan at home, at Notre Dame, and then at Nebraska. I understand there's 2 bye weeks in there. You get a bye before Michigan, you get a bye before Nebraska. Still, that's 4 very tough games in 6 weeks, and that doesn't even include on the road at Oregon. That's really tough. But you brought up all the major points. D'Anton Lynn at defensive coordinator, that's been the biggest spot where Lincoln Riley just has not been able to figure this thing out. And then also bringing in a new strength coordinator, which J.D. Piquel, you should go watch our USC football preview that we put out with J.D. Piquel over on Crane & Company. You can check it out on our YouTube channel and all of that. And he was informing us about a new strength coordinator, which my question was, well, what were we doing before then? Was strength training not a priority, or was the guy that we had in not the right guy? That's still on you as the head coach. Anyway, just here's some things that, everybody's been wanting to pile on Lincoln Riley the last couple seasons, and I understand it. And I've been trying to figure it out in my head, because here's a guy who won double-digit games 5 of his first 6 years as a head coach. 3 of those were 12-win seasons. And I understand that those 3, that was at Oklahoma in the Big 12 years. That was pre-SEC Oklahoma, and I get that. At the same time, year one at USC, 11 wins, Heisman Trophy winner. I saw him go toe to toe when he was at Oklahoma with Kirby Smart in Georgia in that Rose Bowl, one of the greatest football games I've ever seen. That game could have gone either way. If you figure out a way to win that one at the end of regulation or overtime, that's you playing in the national championship. And that's without even being balanced. Of course, he has not been balanced enough. I don't care how good you are on offense. The phrase defense wins championships exists for a reason, and you can copy and paste that phrase to almost every sport for all time. So he got really close without even being balanced. And then, of course, Oklahoma fans pile on him after he leaves and says, well, he really wasn't the right coach for us anyway, and it seemed really bitter. And then 8 wins a year ago and then 7 wins a season ago, and you're like, man, were Oklahoma fans actually right about this?
Yep.
And again, to the point of like a lot of that success in the Big 12, a lot of that success early in the Pac 12, and now you come into the Big 10, and again, I just don't think that game translates quite so well in this league, especially later in the year. I mean, there's a big difference between the first week of September, everything's bright and sunny, and you got a team in the Coliseum, and the end of November, and you're freezing your tail off because you're on the road in the Midwest against some of these teams, and you have to call your offense in different ways, or you have to win a game with defense. So I'm not quite so bullish right now, but again, I'll make a similar point. I'll make a similar point about USC that I did about Nebraska. You talking about 8-4? Okay, congratulations. 8-4 would hit that over win total, and everybody would make a lot of
Yep.
money with the line being 7.5. 8-4 should be bad at USC. Eight and
Yeah.
four should be the worst year you have at USC with the capabilities that that program has. And certainly when I got to play against them in the Rose Bowl, man, they beat us like a drum, dogs at every position. And that was, Pete Carroll was there then. Pete Carroll did such a great job of locking down that state. And then if
Yep.
they needed something extra, they would go outside in the rest of the country and they would get it, but they would lock down California. And so, again, I know Lincoln Riley, again, talking about guys who've forgotten more football than I've ever known. Lincoln Riley certainly up there in that category. But can you be balanced enough? And certainly giving DeAnton Lynn an opportunity at defensive coordinator should help contribute to that. Let's see how they do in that 4-game stretch, and including Oregon as well. And don't forget Georgia Southern, maybe you'll be right on the over total there.
All right.